So today we are going to talk about problems related to family life today. And before that, yesterday we talked about contraception. And also in contraception we were talking about responsible parenthood. Yes, we talked about ways that you can demonstrate responsible parenthood. For example, working hard, not discriminating your children, showing understanding. We also talked about the two types of contraception, that is natural and artificial. And then we talked about the different types in artificial contraception. So today we are going to talk about problems related to family life today. So, what are we talking about here? When we are talking about problems that are related to family life today, we are talking about what are the challenges that are most prominent in family life today, in families today. What are those issues that are burning? Number one, there is poverty. We have poverty. So most of the families are poor. What do we mean? Many families in Kenya are poor and cannot meet their basic needs. You find out that most of them can eat breakfast and they do not have lunch. Or rather, most of the families have supper. Others don't have any food at all. So they lack basic needs. They can lack food, clothing, or what? Shelter. The place that you're living in is not even your home. You're a squatter there. That means you don't have what? Shelter. Then you find some of the students, when they are going to school, they don't even have school uniform. They are what? Their private parts are showing. Like the boys, yes, at the back. I see them going to school. So that means they do not even have, they cannot be able to replace whatever they have. Number two, in poverty also, I have to mention that poverty leads to children dropping out of school, and others become runaways, and they become the street children, where they engage in begging, they engage themselves in stealing and prostitution. So the second one is affluence. Affluence, we mean here being wealthy or prosperity. It also is a burning issue in the family today. This refers to a lot of wealth and may encourage luxurious and carefree living, and will easily lead to drug abuse. Because you are being given, for example, we discovered there's a student who's getting 2,000 per month here. It's given by the parents. You know, if you're being given 2,000 per month, and we have 3 months, yes? By the end of the what? The term, you have 6,000, right? How much is a quarter bread? 15 shillings, right? 15 shillings times 3 months is what? That. Let's round off to 30 times 3, that is 90. 15 times 90 is how much? 15 times 9 is 45, carry 4. So that is, he needs to be eating quarter daily is just 13.50. If he's eating bread half per day, this is, because that is what the parent was claiming, 3,700, right? And you still have 6,000. You're eating bread in the morning and break time, right? This is a lot of money for a student. No matter what are you doing with the money? If you're being given 2,000. The surplus, 6,000 minus 3,700. That's about 2,300 around there, right? So what is the student? That student can easily get into what? Drugs, because you have excess money. Or you can buy something that is not usable to you. You can engage in things that are not productive. Yes. Those students who do not have maybe PS at their homes, how much do you play with per game? How much is it? 20 shillings. This student can even stay there the whole day, right? But a student who's being given 6,000, they have their own PS, right? So now you see, if you are so affluent also, and your parents cannot be able to control you, that means when you are at home, you're on the phone, you're on the tablet, you're on the what? Television. It is also a family life, because you will not understand the challenges. Like this student now doesn't understand the challenges here. Cannot be able to, even if we try to tell you that you should do this and this and this, even the parent says that is not enough, we should have this. Yes. So that is the challenge. Another challenge, another problem of family related to family life is unemployment. Unemployment, or you can call it underemployment. Those are two different things. Unemployment is whereby you don't have work totally. Basically, you do not have work. But underemployment is that you have few working hours, right? You have very few working hours. So many parents in Kenya today are jobless, and they never have paid for employment, no self-employment. So that means they cannot be able to meet the what? The family obligations. When you're talking about underemployment, you're talking about you work in a job whereby you're told to work half day, right? And you're given a particular amount of pay, which cannot be able to meet your basic needs. I'll give you a good example. You see those mothers who come to clean our clothes, mama kuosha, right? They come in the morning and they sit in the state. And then they wait for you to call them, and they do your laundry, maybe they do your house. They do different chores in the house. They cannot stay the whole day doing it, right? The most they can go is 3 hours. And they're paid, depending on the amount of work that you've given them. But it's very little. It's very little money. You find out that even some of them, because nowadays there are very many, you find even most of them don't even get what? The jobs. That's what we are calling what? Unemployment. They have there, they can offer their services, but most people don't need the what? The services. We also have retrenchment as a problem related to family life. This is whereby we mean laying off of some of the employees. Some of the employees are laid off, yes, from work, and this leads to the loss of regular source of income. It creates that financial instability, because now you are working well, you could be able to pay school fees for your children, you could be able to take care of your family, but now because you've been laid off work, some of the, we don't mean all the employees are laid off, it's just retrenchment is whereby some of them are what? Are laid off work. And then we have separation of members. That's a challenge today. And separation is we find out that there are long periods of separation between families due to work, or someone has gone for further education. And this creates room for loneliness and sexual unfaithfulness. Yes. And there's also that separation due to bereavement. The remaining members of the family may experience what? Psychological problems. As they are adjusting or they are coping with this loss, it's a challenge. Especially if also the person who passed on was the main what? Breadwinner. Adjusting can be an issue. Mostly people separate for long periods because of work or further education. Like I know someone, a teacher who went abroad to study for 1 year, got a scholarship, and they left the spouse here. You know, that's a bit a challenge. I don't know whether it's a challenge to her, but that's a challenge because they're separated, right? Divorce. That's challenge number 6. Divorce leads to problems such as self-blame, anger, even children withdraw. It causes withdrawal if children come from those broken families, and frustrations because these children are missing one parent. Another problem is domestic violence. And I can tell you the most prominent domestic violence is abusive language. Abusive language, you don't have to beat someone, but in front of your spouse, you're abusing each other. Or you're saying words which are not good. There are frequent fights also then, cruel treatment of the children. And I think the brutal killings are rampant. You hear the husband kills what? The wife, yes? Or the husband killed the wife. It's usually in the news, the wife and the children. This is domestic violence. Because people cannot be able to tolerate each other. And they have that inability to forgive the some of the issues that are coming up. Number 8 is mismanagement of finances. And mismanagement comes about when one of the spouses is not sincere without their using their what? The finances. And this leads to causing of suffering to the family members, and it leads to a lot of conflicts. For example, mismanagement can take place whereby there is a woman. Women are they buy everything they are seeing on the streets. You don't have to see every other dress that you're passing and buy it. Or you buy an outfit because your neighbor, the neighboring woman, bought it. That is mismanagement of finances. You must have a budget of what you're going to do with your money. Or the husband going to drink all the money. Yes? There are very many types of mismanagement. I don't want to get into the gospel because I've also seen it in our churches. There's a lot of mismanagement. Let me not talk about it. It's very touching. There's also drug abuse. So there's alcohol and drug abuse as another problem related to family life. And addiction of alcohol and other drugs makes a person irresponsible. And it also creates health problems. It leads to misuse of family finances and irresponsible sexual behavior and a lot of family conflicts. Any alcohol and drug abuse causes all these issues to come up. Number 10, there is HIV, AIDS, and STIs. This is a challenge of family life because it usually leads to loss of breadwinners and the children remain orphans. You follow that the children left by the orphans of HIV, AIDS usually have a lot of issues because they have to be fed and maintained by other relatives, yes? And the other relatives may not be ready to take care of them. There is also the problem of witchcraft, especially in our country, whereby witchcraft is something bad happens to you, you say it's witchcraft. There is no witchcraft. That is what I believe. There is nothing. I come from where it is told you it's sold on the market. I wonder why I could not have bought it and got A in everything. Who doesn't want to get A's? And I'm asking you, people usually say, I cannot get rich through witchcraft because you're supposed to sacrifice your son and daughter. Some of you are so problematic. Your children, you'll be handed over like this. Take this one. Let me be left with the others so that I become lies. Those people who talk about witchcraft are lazy, basically. If you see anyone who's talking about witchcraft, they're lazy. And even if they have, let's say, minimal wealth, they are trying to do what? They are trying to justify themselves not reaching to a peak where someone else is. What is witchcraft? If it was there, everyone would run there. The way people are suffering now, all the maize is drying up in the what? The shamba. And it is not yet ripe. So what are you talking about? I don't believe in witchcraft. Myself, I don't, zero. I believe this is it shows a person is jealous, number one. The person who's talking about it, if it's your parent, is lazy. Very lazy. Because why are you the only one who's being bewitched? Why is the rich person not being bewitched? The rich person. Why does bewitchment always goes to the poor? You go, you start a business, you've been given the loan from the bank. And then you You go, you squander the money with your family instead of keeping the profit and keeping the books well. And then you start saying, people, I was bewitched. Bewitched by who? By who? Laziness, jealousy. There is also another problem, is the generation gap. Whereby we have that generation of the old people and the young who are you, and you're trying to make them understand what is happening today, and then they do not understand. Like, there are a lot of things that are happening that you should know, and I don't even know that you even know them. And when you discover something little, even before you even digest it to know whether it's the right thing or the right behavior to follow, you start telling your parents that, you are the older generation, we never used to see this, we never used to do this is a new generation, I have to have new shoes. It's not a must for you to have new shoes to come to school. You can use the shoes that you are with in Form 1 up to Form 4. What will happen? If you take care of the shoes, the way you usually see people stepping on their shoes, you're the one who destroys your shoes. And then you tell your parents, oh, that's true. Nowadays, students have to get shoes every term. Who said so? The generation gap, you want to say that, but where the family life, where the generation gap really comes in is when it comes to that aspect of what? Materialism. Because on other issues, or materialism and how you should be taken care of. You want you are a boy at home, and you want to come at 9. You want to go throughout the night. How? And you say, this is the new generation, we are allowed to go out. What? Where? By who? No, this is not, that you try to make someone feel inferior. There's also cultural and religious differences. And lastly, there's childlessness. Childlessness also is an issue.